Buenas tardes amigos, en nuestra clase de hoy vamos a tener una entrevista con una amiga que yo conozco, ella es de Australia, su nombre es Megan, la conocí a ella en los años que vivía en Indonesia, ella ha viajado por muchas partes por el mundo y hoy nos va a explicar un poco qué es lo que es la vida en el sudeste asiático y particularmente los años que ella vivía en Indonesia. Actualmente ella está en Australia, es tarde noche acá en Chile, es mañana ya y también y ella generalmente viaja a Indonesia constantemente, así es que aquí vamos. Hello Megan, how you doing?
Good morning. Good, thanks. How are you?
Good, very good yourself. It's actually evening for me as it
That's
is
good.
morning, because I'm guessing that we have
Oh,
around 12 hours difference, are we?
yeah, about roughly 13 hours.
Yeah. So I was just telling our students how you were living so many years in Indonesia, but I never knew, and I would like you to tell us how did you ended up there in the first place?
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting. I was studying at university here in Australia, my undergraduate degree, and they offer scholarships to study in any country of your choice in Asia. And I ended up studying in Indonesia as a part of my undergraduate degree on scholarship in Yogyakarta. And I was studying political science at the university in Jogja. I was 18, 19, and I met Ken later on. I graduated and then I fell into teaching.
Okay, so
And
teaching, you must have seen something about the country that you really like in order for you to stay there for so many years, right?
oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, even as a teenager and my trip to Indonesia, mostly my first exposure was in Java. I thought it was probably the most beautiful place I'd ever seen, and also Bali. And something magical about how it's so multicultural, as in the ethnic groups within the same country. There's over 5,000 of them and so many languages as well. But yeah, the lifestyle is being so different from Australia, and how Australia is pretty much how, as in, we don't have a very big population and we don't have such a rich cultural background. It's not evident. You don't see it in day-to-day life. But when I went to Indonesia, I could see how they live their life so differently, and it was so interesting to me, and became very passionate about the country. And yeah, I developed deep ties with how they live and how religion and everything is evident in their daily life there, which is something that we don't have much of here in Australia.
I gotta tell you, I was living in London myself, and I have many friends traveling around to Southeast Asia all the time. And so until one day, I made up my mind, and I flew to Bangkok on a 6 month ticket, and I traveled all Southeast Asia. And when I went to Indonesia, I just found it, wow, this is just so much better than the rest of the countries, and I decided to stay.
It's just beautiful, the diversity.
Yeah, yeah. What is your favorite place in Indonesia?
I have so many. I've actually traveled pretty much around the whole archipelago except for Kalimantan and Sulawesi. I love, obviously, Java. That's where I started out. But also saying this, since I first went to Indonesia in 1997 until now, it's been a long road. There has been a lot of evolvement of what it looks like and how things run there. I would have to say I liked it even more when I first went, especially in Bali, when I traveled around Bali for the first time in 1996, 97, when I was a young teenager, and seeing how it was still more traditional then. It wasn't as commercialized or built up as it is now. It had a real magic to it that you still hear about, but now it's almost like a romanticized memory of the past in a way, because yeah, globalization has occurred and tourism, it has changed how things look and how things work there. If I had to choose now, because we still go back I would probably say my favorite place now remains to be Java. I love the natural landscape. I'm really into forests, like rainforests and hinterland. That's kind of what I'm attracted to. But the beach is fine. But I love the rainforest there, like around Merapi and Merbabu in central Java. That's an area I find until now is very beautiful.
Wow.
And also I like how their belief system, I mean, living in Jogja for the first year of my life in Indonesia, I like how their whole lifestyle is intertwined with the land in a way. Similar to in Australia, how the Aboriginal people, the indigenous people here, live their life intertwined with the land. But I mean, in Java, in Jogja, they have this kind of this belief system, kejawen, that well, some of them do, but they also mix it with mainstream religion like Christianity or Islam. And they still do the ceremonies that they've done for hundreds of years that are related to like the ancestor spirits who live in the volcano in Merapi, and then, you know, the spirits of their ancestors who came before them. There is a rich heritage that if you look into it and you explore it, it's very interesting, and it's something that life in Australia is devoid of. So I find it personally interesting.
Nice, nice. Now, let me ask you a bit about food. And the reason why I ask you this is because when all the years that I was living in Jakarta, I noticed that they were really into food. People in Indonesia talk about food all the time. And for me, it was the first experience I have eating with chopsticks, eating sitting directly to the ground, and things like that that you normally don't see in Western countries. How is that for you?
Yeah, well, the first time I went there as a teenager, and they have a system where they sit on the ground called lesehan, and they eat traditionally with their hand, their right hand. And yeah, I mean, everything to me was culturally shocking the first time, especially being dropped into, I wasn't in Jakarta the first time. I was in a rural area with a traditional lifestyle, which was the whole point of the program. It was a cultural immersion program as well as a language immersion program. Yet to just see how things are done. And the most shocking thing for me was probably the bat mandi, the system shower with a scoop from a bucket.
Okay. You were there by
How
yourself,
we
or you were with
do things in
friends?
Australia.
When you were there, you were there by
The
yourself?
uni sense, no, through my university, but part of the immersion program is they put you in a place, yeah, by yourself.
Yeah,
You
because now
have a liaison officer
the reason why
to
I'm
see how
asking
you're going.
the reason why I ask you about this is because when I met you, you were there practically on your own, and I know a lot of women
Oh
travelers,
yeah,
they're not very comfortable to go to places like this because they might feel that it's either dangerous or they're just naturally scared because they don't know the place. But while I was there, I met so many women traveling on their own. So maybe you can give us some tips about that.
yeah. I was gonna say, to tell you the truth, I know what you're talking about, the backpacking. I saw a lot of, and I met a lot of backpackers who were from Europe, especially backpacking through Asia in general by themselves. And they do talk about the risks of being female, especially young. Back then I was young and vulnerable. You do become like an target. But I didn't actually, I'd have to say even from the outset, even though I was there alone, as in I was the only one from my university there, I quickly made friends with local people. So I was never actually alone from that point onwards, because I did immerse myself in the culture and language. I was not speaking English at that point, so I was living in the local community. As a local, I quickly was accepted as part of the community. And even then, when I moved from Jogja to Jakarta, it wasn't independently by myself. It was with a lot of like a team, like a network of people, local people who were supporting me in what I was doing. So I never felt at risk or
I always try
in
to
harm's way.
encourage my friends, either male or female, to travel by themselves. And the reason for that is because you're never really alone. And when you travel by yourself, you always meet so many people.
Yeah.
As if you are with somebody, you only ended up talking to the friend you were with. And you don't socialize as much as if you are on your own. So I guess what I'm trying to say here to people is that just to be brave, get on the plane, fly, and have any
Yeah.
experience, because there's a beautiful world out there. And just because you don't know, a lot of the times people are not really
Mm-hmm.
into it or are not really brave to do it, if you want to say that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with what you just said. When I left Australia, I was alone, but I never felt alone, even though I was
Exactly.
technically alone, even in, because even in Australia, coming back to Australia a couple of years ago, I was pretty much alone with my son, who was young at the time, but I've never felt alone because I don't have a problem wherever I land making connections and becoming part of a community. It's
Yeah.
a skill that you get once you've done it once,
I guess
anywhere.
you can say it's a skill, and it's also a way of being. If you wanna shut yourself off to the world, you will, and if you wanna open up to it, you can also do that. So, wow, it was
Yeah.
very good for you, what you're talking about. Um, if someone were to go to Indonesia or to Southeast Asia for the first time, would you recommend to have some vaccination or something?
The only thing I had going the first time to Indonesia, and the first time cautious because I'd never been there before, was dengue. I'm sorry, not dengue, malaria. I had a dose of, a course of malaria tablets that I could take in case that occurred. But we go back every year, and every time we go to Southeast Asia, we don't really take any precaution at all now that we know that it's what the risks are. I have to say, yeah, you have to be cautious of mosquitoes. So basically use some kind of a mosquito repellent, like a bug repellent, but that's not specific to Southeast Asia. That's also even here where we live in Queensland, because we have those kind of things that occur here as well.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
was
yeah,
gonna.
just general precautions, sunscreen, bug spray.
I totally agree with you. I ask you this because you are from Australia, but in my case, when I first went to Southeast Asia, I didn't have any injection or anything, and most of people I know
Yeah.
that were taking malaria tablets, they used to say that the tablet was actually worse than the malaria itself. So it's probably one of those things that you need to think and decide. And yes, the mosquito repellent can be very useful because they are annoying, are they?
Is better than cure. And wherever you are in the tropics, it doesn't matter which country you're in, you're going to get mosquitoes.
Exactly.
It's just logical. And you have to take sun protection as well, because of course, I mean, if you're fair like myself, cancer is a big problem.
Yeah.
Skin.
Yeah.
So you have to protect yourself from this. And apart from, it's like, don't eat dodgy, you aren't sure how sanitary the conditions are where they've cooked it. Otherwise, you might end up with typhoid fever, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And also, the first time I went there, I went vegetarian. It's easier to avoid digestive problems, local meat sources where you're unsure where they've come from or how they've been prepared.
I don't think I'll ever be, if I ever go back to if I ever were to become vegetarian and I was to go back to Indonesia, I will quit because the meat there is good. Those satay thing they do on the street. I thought, what do you think
I'm
about street food
still
in
vegetarian. So, sorry? What
street
do
food?
I think about people eating meat?
Yeah, yeah. I'll never give up meat.
Sorry? I can't hear.
Um, I was just saying that
Um, the
also,
thing I like about Indonesian food,
please.
as no matter whether you're vegetarian, pescatarian, or whatever, you will find so much variety and choice there that does not exist in countries like Australia, that you will not be starving. Even if you're a vegan, you will find so much choice of what to eat that you will never be stuck for. Like,
The food variety is massive.
thing I love about Indonesia, the food. Oh,
Oh, you made
I love the
me
food.
travel
I
back
love
to Southeast Asia for a while, and
it.
for that I appreciate them. So yeah, is there anything one more advice you would like to give us young travelers who wish to go back to, who wish to go over to Southeast Asia before we finish?
Yeah, just open heart, and you'll be surprised and impressed with what you find there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And culture, everything, music. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Mm. Okay. Okay. Well, Megan, I really appreciate what you've done for us. I know Chilean English learners will appreciate this, and I hope we can keep in touch.
Yeah, we can keep in
Okay.
touch. Zoom is only a button away.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
Oh,
you.
and don't forget,
Bye.
if you ever come to South America, you have to stop in Chile, okay?
Actually, that's one continent I haven't been to.
Well, there you go. Do you know how to? I always recommend if people want to come to South America, they have to learn some basic Spanish because it's going to be very helpful. Because in a lot of places, people don't speak a word in English. It's not like in Southeast Asia or in Europe, because whenever you go to a capital city, you can always get by with English, but in here, it can be very hard.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah,
Probably why I haven't been there.
yeah. All right, Megan. Thanks for this time. I know you're very busy and you got things to do. So, uh, once again, thank you very much, and hope we can keep in touch.
Yeah. Thank you, Ken.
All right, take care.
Bye. Bye.